Hello, beautiful, amazing, fantastic world, and you, a wonderful, beautiful individual, personality, human being, you. And, well, happy new week. Today, I would like to speak about inwardly alive, consciously working. Well, when you actually do, you do never know what to truly expect when it comes to the soul spiritual. For the higher worlds has a tendency to constantly inspire us with impulses that is not normally what we are used to, because we often go on repeat and go on type of going in motion, going in circular motion, and by us actively using our inner thoughts to, well, infuse our life with new impulses, for we need to master our thoughts first. When our thoughts are being in motion, our emotions also do so, our feelings. And our will, as I mentioned, is also within here. For when you are actively, consciously working with your thoughts, you are in your thoughts with your will. So you utilize your will to master your thoughts and feelings. We are not meant to work upon our will directly, because that would indicate we would know where the will is going. But the will is the sacred place, or the innermost sacred place of the human being. And, well, only Father affects that. For if we were to do so, we would kind of write off a certain part of trust, it is a balance between trusting and also working. Kind of the Cain and Abel line, but just mixed together. Where Abel is, well, tending the herd and tending to what is already here, Cain was, well, tilling the soil and working upon the earth as, well, as a human being do. And of course, the higher worlds did not understand the tilling of the soil. But these two streams have again come together. It is all about both working and tending to what we do have here already, and having a little trust and faith in the higher worlds. You see, after the Christ sacrificed himself, that blood debt was paid. When that was paid, Cain and Abel, or Cain-Seth line, came together. Now, to have a unified spiritual practice that both indicates receiving and also giving. It's an inward-outward breath of knowledge, in a sense, for we do work into the world by doing this. It is about holding to dignity, morality, warmth, love, compassion. It is a strength. It is a commitment. You commit yourself to being truthful, honest, and staying to the good and the beautiful. For if we don't, we are easily led into, what should we call it? Blind alleys, more or less, and we have to turn around and backtrack. That means reflecting on what we have done and then start a new direction. For if we do choose willy-nilly, letting life choose for us, getting dragged anywhere and everywhere by every impulse and whatever anyone wants of us, we would never be able to truly come into a personality, an individual personality. Now, by harmonizing with the world and the development we're in, and not, well, being dragged by everything, it is a steady stableness that comes through consistency. Through breathing, meditation, through staying in the present moment, and from this present moment unfolding the future, reflecting on the past. We are threefold here right now: past self, present self, future self. And with our present self we work upon and forgive and acknowledge our past selves, strengthening our weaknesses, overcoming our fears, inadequacies, insecurities, and pains from the past. Forgiveness. When you do that, you become lighter. For you are not constantly bogged down by heavy weights that are of the past, because you have truly acknowledged them. All they wish to be is acknowledged, these memories, these past selves of us. They wish to be united with us again, in a sense. And by doing so, we work towards the future, and do not stay in a karmic circle where we constantly work on past, work on past, work on past, work on past, but we move forward also. That is when the joy truly starts, because you can never expect what to come each day, not even from yourself, for the higher worlds are constantly inspiring us, keeping us alive, awake, listening. You never know what they all of a sudden are going to say, and that is the most joyous ever, for you never know, all of a sudden it might be some earth-shaking truths that they give us. But of course they never want us to despair or become confused or become hopeless, or in any case. They truly wish to strengthen our ability for hope, faith, love, and hope. And through faith, love, and hope, we warm up the world, we bring about a coloring, we bring about a trust, not only for our own inner self to God, but also to humanity, knowing that humanity will grow and develop, and this is but a temporary stage of development. And in 500 years, what we look at now, in the present moment, will be looked at as a mythology. For we are going to unfold more and more of our soul spiritual capabilities, which are far more subtle than our thoughts, feelings, and will alone. We have our astral body, which we kind of live in here. What we see physically is the astral world condensed. There are still things in the more finer, higher astral world, but you also have the lower astral world, and then you have lower Devakan and higher Devakan. The lower astral world is where the adversaries reside. And in the astral, where we are now, is the physical world. And then you have the higher worlds, where there are finer, more subtle and more sublime beings affecting us. Now in the lower Devakan, the lower spirit lands, or the realm of the gods, you can only find moral impulses, the moral and aesthetic beauty. So aesthetic beauty means when you see someone do something good for another, you feel love, you feel good, you feel joy. When you see someone in pain, you feel pain, you feel the pain they feel. And that is for us, because and the practice with this is for us to understand where they come from, as to not judge them for their place, for we all know suffering and struggle. And we wouldn't wish that suffering or struggle upon others unless we wish that upon ourselves. Do to others as you wish others do to you. And that is why we stick to the practice, the commitment, the 10 commandments, or as also like called commitments, for that is what they are. Commandments in earlier times, because we were kind of already in big doo-doo then, so we had to clear up in things by holding strong to certain practices. But now it has over thousands of years now cultivating these 10 commandments within our soul and spirit. It should be second nature. For honestly, it is all about human decency, meeting another person in the middle, observing them, listening to them, and holding a certain, not benefit of the doubt, but holding a space for them to express themselves, allowing them to be themselves. For there are many places in the world, because many are not setting that space, It's a very crowded space. And that is why when you cultivate this, you kind of, no matter what crowded space, where you are, how you are, where you be, you are yourself. You are anchored within your own inner being as a personality, and you are still working in harmony with the world. You can do both. It is both freedom and duty, and the love for duty. But the duty is manifold and variable, based on individuals and based on what is asked of us, for we have different strengths and weaknesses. That is the joy, the variation, the differences. And when we can honor our differences, love our differences, uniting them to one whole in a sense, this requires time, effort, dedication, and also a little a little bit of thought processing. Although thought processing sound like we are kind of a mechanical structure. We're not. We are soul spiritual beings in a physical form condensed. Although we do let go of our physical forms after the gate of death, but we do start a new life in the spirit then. Just like we die in the spiritual world when we are born, we die in the physical world and are born in the spiritual world when we die. It is just a different stage of life, that's all. Once we can come to connect to that truth, death is not so intimidating to study as it otherwise would, because, well, I'm far more curious than anything. And it's about kind of being curious as what happens in between death and a new birth, what happens in between, in the different places where we otherwise never would dare to wander with our own inner being. For you see, if you run away from anything that makes you feel fear, that thing will meet you through others. What happens when you haven't stood up to the fears within you and it shows up outside of you? You are not ready for it. Not at all. But when you overcome it inwardly, they cannot do that outwardly either, for it's the same force, it's the same beings. They just take hold of the other side of things, because they always manage to get to us. They are our adversaries after all. They are microcosmic beings, which means they are affecting all of mankind. But overcoming them, transforming them, redeeming them, making them as human as can be, for they can only be redeemed through the human being, they will become far more helpful, because they are less and less prone to go outside of the sphere they are influencing. If you take Lucifer's sphere, he is kind of a guardian of beauty, freedom, and arts. But it is abstract arts, and it is freedom without morality. You see? When you have holding strong to goodness, love, Lucifer is anchored in his own sphere, but he is giving us freedoms you see here. It's the same with Ahriman. Ahriman has his meticulous, mechanical, but also precise thinking, which is enormously clear and what's it called? I think I said precise. But anyways, when we utilize our thinking in a clear way with love, with morality, that is when Ahriman also is shackled in the underworld. But he is still in balance here. We cannot get away from these two beings. They are part and parcel of this earth. And as long as we are developing, they will be our adversaries as to strengthen the true, the good, and the beautiful. We either become slaves and victims to them, or we overcome them. It is as simple as that, but also very complicated. It is because we have to study and know where they are, how they operate, what impulses, and where they tend to show up when we least expect it. It is about preparation, being prepared, but at the same time also holding compassion. It is about not seeing, it is about not holding hatred in your heart. Holding hatred in your heart is not healthy for our inner being. But I digress. I think this was... So, stick to faith, love, and hope. And become aware and notice how difficult it actually is to stay strong to, the impulses. And that means not only outwardly, apparently, but also in your thoughts, in your feelings, your will impulses, your actions. And when you are working with your thoughts, you direct yourself and your feelings. So you are less prone to randomly being dragged into something you would not like, you see. But thank you so much for listening to me. May you be protected, guided, blessed, loved by Father, Holy Spirit, Christ, Michael, ancient masters of old, ancestors from every incarnation, and may you be provided for with all that you need to survive, live, thrive, being creative, inspirational, and healing to the world so others can choose to follow when the time is right and the courage is high. And may you be safe and sound. Thank you, my dear sibling. Love you. See you. Goodbye.